All right, we're trying this again. That was a little weird. I don't know what was going on. It kicked me off. That was totally bizarre. All right, hoping that doesn't happen again. Whoa. That was totally weird. I was live and then it's as if the microphone, or actually maybe the camera disconnected or something, although it didn't, but it acted like it did. Anyway, that was weird. All right, let me get TikTok while we're waiting for everybody now to figure out that we're over here instead of there. Maybe somebody go back there and remind people to come here because that thing may stay. I don't know whether that thing stays live or what. So just to be safe, if anybody wants to go, like I said, if it's live at all over there, tell them we're here now. That was just totally bizarre. All right. Let me get TikTok rolling. Anyway, oh well. Oh, you go? Yeah, just go comment just to be safe. It's not live? Okay, good. Allô tout le monde. Salut André. All right. Let me trying to think what I don't know. Oh well. I think I'm just going to give a boring title, Ukraine War Update, even though I've got more than that. I do like to try to entice the trolls, though. All right. Hey, everybody. All right. 1 second. I'm getting TikTok set up here. I do like to entice my trolls, though. I hate to have a title that doesn't suck them in. We like to suck them in. Hang on here. I love debate the trolls. You know that. Oops. What else is here? I want to go crazy here. The dragon. We did have a lot of dragons yesterday. I like my little goose. We haven't had the goose in a while. All right. I may just say Ukraine war update. I mean, there's lots of stuff we're talking about, but I'm trying to think. There isn't anything really. Oops, what was that? What was that? Oh, right. Oh, there's a page missing. Wait, what am I doing here? Oh, that's the page missing. Okay, sorry, I'm losing my mind here. All right. Yeah. And hold on. All right, I threw Elon into the title too. That'll make it a little more interesting. Here we go. Okay, we're going live. I mean, you guys are live, but TikTok's going live. All right. Tiki-toki. There we go. Boom. All right. Woo. Yeah, that was bizarre. That was totally bizarre. Anyway. So yes, welcome everybody. So that was bizarre. So hi TikTokers, YouTube. Like I said, we started, and I think all I can guess is my camera fitzed out on my phone, maybe, because all of a sudden it disconnected me, and I was like, "What was that?" So that was weird. Hey TikTokers, welcome all. Happy, what is today? Thursday, January 9th. Freezing cold in Washington. Thank you, Jorge. It's like, what is it? 29 degrees. Blah. Luigi, yeah, Luigi. Sound is low. I don't know why sound is low. Sound should not be low. This happened the other day too. I upped the volume a little bit for TikTok. How's the sound now? Sound should not be low. Sound is good. Okay. All right. Hey Bryce. Hey Derek. Thank you for the gifts, guys. So welcome all. How are we doing today? We'll talk about Ukraine. We've got some American news, some Don Jr. news, which was very funny. Also, it's an interesting story about this. Thank you, Adventures. Thank you, Bjorn and Catherine. Interesting story about this Russian propagandist and her husband, which I'm kind of fascinated by that one. And I'm not divided. I'm almost divided, but I'm not quite divided. We'll talk about it. It's an interesting story. I don't have a lot of sympathy for this woman, but I'm intrigued what you guys think. But any case, let's get rolling. So welcome, everybody. I'm John Aravosis. This is the Aravosis Report. It is my nightly show we do Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern time. where we hang out. We talk about the war in Ukraine. We talk about U.S. politics overall. Certainly a lot of Ukraine, but a lot of Trump, a lot of everything else going on. Greenland. Oh, we talk about Greenland. I want to start talking about Greenland first thing. My first story tonight, Marcus. So welcome, everybody. Let's start talking about Greenland first. Then we'll get some other stories, and then we'll talk about Ukraine. As you know, Donald Trump is threatening war with Europe over Greenland. He wants to steal Greenland from Denmark and threatened to go to war with Denmark. Now he's threatening them with tariffs, which would be kind of funny because the Danes export Ozempic, that super amazing weight loss drug, comes from Denmark. So if Donald Trump were to start a trade war with Denmark, there'd be no more as Ozempic, which would hurt a lot of Americans. Thank you, Jocelyn. It also might hurt Donald Trump himself, who has lost significant weight recently. Who knows if he gets it from Ozempic, but not a happy thing. Well, we found out today, Donald Trump sends his son, Don Jr. You know him. Don Jr. is the dark-haired one who talks so fast that you'd think he just drank 50 Coca-Colas. Don Jr. Goes to to Greenland. So Greenland is, I'm not sure how you Danes describe this. I'm going to say Greenland is a territory of Denmark, like an independent country that's a territory. Like, I don't really quite know what the correct terminology is for Greenland. I could ask Alexa. I don't know if she's going to get it. Alexa, what is Greenland? Alexa, set your volume to 35%. Alexa, what is Greenland? Oh my God, I hate when she's done like this. Alexa, what is Greenland?
Greenland is a large island located to the north of the North Atlantic Ocean and is the largest island in the Atlantic Ocean. It is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark and is the second largest autonomous territory in the Danish realm after the Faroe Islands.
Okay, Google, stop.
Greenland is the least populated territory in Europe.
Okay, so what you guys have been saying, it's an autonomous territory of Denmark. Okay, now Google's going too. Okay, that's what I was wondering about. It's an autonomous territory of Denmark. I was wondering like what it's called. Like, is it called a country? Is it called, Puerto Rico, it's not like Puerto Rico. I mean, because we're looking for the actual word. We're not going to call Greenland Puerto Rico. I mean, what is it? Calling it an island isn't enough either. Thank you, Chazak. So yeah, so it's an autonomous territory of Denmark. It belongs to Denmark, but it kind of, in charge of its own politics. So Don Jr., Trump's son, goes there. And thank you, Chazak. Thank you, Karis. Trump's son goes there and holds this big event with MAGA supporters. Wait, I'm going to show you the picture. He does this big event with Greenlander MAGA supporters, showing how much they like him. And see, here we go. Lunch with the Greenland supporters, and they all showed up with MAGA hats on. Oh my God, isn't that great? Well, we found out today that these were not typical Greenlanders who showed up to show their support for Donald Trump and becoming part of America. Donald Trump Jr. went outside and found a bunch of homeless people and put MAGA hats on their heads and said, "You want to come inside for a free lunch?" And they said, "Okay." That's what that picture was. He claimed that these were Greenlanders who were so excited with Donald Trump wanting to steal Greenland from Denmark that they showed up with their MAGA hats and joined him for lunch. Yeah, homeless people who he bribed with food and put hats on their poor heads for a photo op. That is Donald Trump, and that is the epitome of Donald Trump, and is the epitome of Donald Trump's son. What a surprise. Anyway, not much more to add there. Sort of the big question with Trump and Greenland is he serious? Yes. Would he use U.S. military force? Yes. It's Donald Trump. He's crazy. He would do anything. At this point, I mean this quite seriously. I know, we always have to be careful with TikTok censors because they sort of freak out whenever we criticize dear leader. But, who was that? Thank you. Who was that? For the adventurers, for the gift. But Trump, nothing is beyond Trump at this point. People need to learn that. And I think we know that, right? There is nothing Donald Trump wouldn't do. There's nothing he wouldn't do. So when Trump says he would use the American military to take Greenland, he would. He'd use the American military to take the Panama Canal. He would. He would sock Panama or Canada and Mexico and Denmark and China with huge tariffs. Yes, he would. The problem becomes, Denmark's not going to sit back while the U.S. invades Greenland. The French have already said they're not going to sit back. The French already pretty much made a military threat. They said that the European Union is not going to sit back and let one of its countries get invaded, basically. What does that mean? Couple things. One, if I were the Europeans, if I were the Danes, also the French, I'd be very tempted to move some military equipment to Greenland. I'd put some ships there for starters and set up my own naval blockade, basically, and say, you're not passing. And in order to pass, you've got to sink a French ship. If I were the French, I would do that. There is what gets interesting with this, a couple things. One, would the U.S. military obey the order? Would Trump's generals obey the order for Trump to basically go to war with a NATO ally? I don't know about that, right? And again, this is the problem with electing Trump again. When Trump was president the last time, his top general basically thought he was going to go to war with China because he lost his mind. Thank you, Denise. In the last couple of weeks, after he lost the election, he started to kind of go crazy, and there was concern that he was going to go to war with China. Thank you, KT. And Trump's top general went and told the rest of the Pentagon, if he orders you to go to China, to go to war with China, you need to contact me first, because it may be an illegal order from the commander-in-chief. So there is a question as to whether the American military would support Trump in invading a NATO ally. If he did, potentially we could have open military fighting with France, with Germany, even with the UK, with the Danes. And if it's the Danes, then the Scandinavians too. And if I were them too, yes, thank you, Bonzo. Yes, the U.S. military could beat the Danes. But if I were the Danes, and again, if you're Danish, and you're European, you don't want a shooting war with the U.S., but that should be in your back pocket, because that's the kind of thing I think the American people might not be very happy about. It's the thing the generals really wouldn't be happy about. But I think it's, guys, this is the kind of crazy stuff you've got to prepare for, unfortunately. Ironically, Donald Trump, who ran for president, saying that he was going to, end all wars, has now threatened 5 or 6 wars that he's going to start. He's potentially now getting us into a war in Europe against NATO. He's threatened it repeatedly. His people have threatened to go to war against Mexico. He's threatened to go to war against Panama. Previously, Trump had talked about dropping bombs on Moscow and Beijing. It's pretty scary stuff. But I think you have to prepare for this in the same way that you're going to have to increase your defense budgets, because you can't count on America anymore. If Donald Trump is president, or frankly, any Republican at this point is president, you cannot count on us. You cannot count on our treaty commitments. You cannot count on our friendships. He has no friends. So, no, it's scary stuff. But yeah, I've been saying all along, I am not worried about war with Russia. Russia does not want war with us. And we would win a war with Russia. I am worried about Donald Trump getting us into a war in many scenarios. Again, you voted for it. Most of you didn't vote for it, but some of you did. Thank you, Annette. They voted for it. We told them Trump was lying. Right? We told them. Hillary Clinton said Donald Trump was dangerous. He would get us into a war. That's what's happening right now. So, oh well. Saturday morning, we've got our coffee talk. So remember Saturday. Thank you, Danon. Thank you, Adventurers, for the big dead goose on my head. The Saturday morning, we've got our coffee talk where I hang out with the paid monthly subscribers. That's everybody on TikTok that has SNN next to your name. Everybody on YouTube whose name is Green. Thank you for the gift. Who is that? Annette. Join us Saturday morning on TikTok for the TikTok folks, YouTube on the YouTube folks, Discord for everybody else. And we hang out for an hour, and it's very nice. It's an hour-long hangout for just the paid subscribers and me. And it's just kind of a chance for us all to talk much more low-key, answer all your questions, etc. How do I think Europe would do against the U.S. in a war? We'd probably win, but a lot of people would die. Thank you, John S. Thank you, Danon. A lot of American weapons would be, a lot of American ships, a lot of American planes would be destroyed. I mean, I think there's a lot of American people who wouldn't be happy about it. I think a lot of the American generals would really not be happy about it. I mean, that's what gets interesting. Thank you, Annie. If Trump were to try to go to war against a NATO ally, I have real concerns about what his generals would do. And that's what gets scary because, I want our democracy to survive. I'm not sure it would. I'm not sure the generals would listen if Trump tried to attack a NATO ally. I think the generals might remove him from power. And the worst part is, would I oppose that? I mean, that's what's so crazy about this entire discussion, right? Is Trump puts you in a position where we would have to decide whether or not we would support the generals removing him from power, which we never would want to have happen in a democracy. But if Trump were to try to go to war with NATO, it's very freaky. But again, believe him. Believe him. Believe everything he says. Everything he says. Everything Trump says, believe him. He's capable of anything. Believe him. Man, it's amazing. It's amazing. So fun. But I mean, you just got to get ready for him. And again, hide his Ozempic. He's not going to be happy. By the way, I'm serious for the Danes. You get ready to take Ozempic off the market if Trump tries anything, because Americans would die if they didn't have Ozempic. They would absolutely die. They would be beside themselves with anger if Trump got Denmark to basically take Ozempic off the market. Anyway, very scary stuff. Is he doing this to impress Putin? Possibly. This is something Putin would like. He may be doing it because Putin recommended it. Somebody recommended it. It could be Putin. I mean, Putin is Trump's Palantir. Trump sort of sits there at nights and looks at the globe, and Putin talks to him, and he goes, "Okay, Greenland, okay." I mean, who knows, right? It's very freaky. It's very freaky. I agree. Trump should quit fear-mongering. He absolutely should. Thank you for the Polaris there. I do like that. The thing that I sort of get a kick out of Trump supporters is how they embrace Trump for all of his crazy stuff. And then when you call Trump out on his crazy stuff, they say, that's not true. The trolls are doing it today. And I've said this before, if you're going to vote for the guy, own it, right? You know what you voted for, own it. Don't be embarrassed. Don't sit there and go, oh, he didn't say that. He didn't do that. He won't do that. You voted for him. He's telling you he wants to go to war with Denmark. Believe him. Embrace it. I think it's crazy. I think it's a terrible idea. But don't pretend like now you're suddenly so shocked that it can't be true. Of course it's true. He said it. I mean, again, it's just one of those things that boggles my mind with people with him, that they're almost embarrassed. Thank you, Koso. They're almost embarrassed of voting for him, because they can't kind of say, yeah. They kind of go, that's not true. It's like, well, it is true. It actually is true. Anyway, so Elon, speaking of Trump's lies, Elon Musk just announced that I guess we're not cutting the budget after all. What a surprise. So one of the many things Trump promised, which are never going to happen. Remember, he promised to cut grocery prices, and then he already said, oh, that's going to be hard. He promised he was going to cut inflation, even though inflation's already been fixed. Now they're saying that actually inflation is going to go up under Trump because of his tariff policies and his immigration policies. All the economic experts say inflation is going to soar. Mortgage prices are now going up because of Trump, because the Federal Reserve is worried about inflation because of Trump. Trump's policies causing more inflation. The other thing that's going to cause more inflation is Trump's budget proposals. Trump wants to continue the tax cuts. Now, personally, I like tax cuts. Thank you, Feisty. So, I'd like to keep my tax cuts, but the tax cuts are incredibly expensive and they're busting a hole in the budget. And that causes, among other things, inflation because it's more money flying around. So the other thing we just found out that now Elon just admitted today, Elon Musk promised he was going to cut $2 trillion from the budget. $2 trillion Elon was going to cut, and Trump empowered him to do it. Elon said today, well, I guess maybe we're not going to cut $2 trillion. It was, I could even show you. It was on CNBC, which is, conservative financial paper. And where is this? I just like to show it occasionally because I think it's doesn't really matter, but it can be. Do I have it here? Oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. CNBC, Elon Musk, Doge probably won't find $2 trillion in federal budget cuts. So Doge was, thank you for the gift there, Booty. Doge was an IOC. Doge was this organization that Trump is creating but doesn't exist, that Elon and Vivek are going to be in charge of to cut the deficit and just cut federal programs. And Elon promised $2 trillion, and Trump backed him up. $2 trillion in programs he was going to cut. The problem is, and again, this is what bothers me, is I don't like being lied to. Thank you, Bob. But you know what? You got lied to, Trump voters. What do you want me to do? Again, we warned you. FAFO here. Thank you, Darian. So Trump lets Elon say he's going to cut $2 trillion from the budget. Well, the rest of us went, how exactly are you going to do that when the budget is $6 trillion? You're going to literally kill 1/3 of the federal government? 1/3? And Elon said, I fired 95% of my staff at Twitter, and Twitter still works. Of course, I'm going to fire the whole government. Well, today Elon admitted, no, maybe not. I guess I can't do it. Here's why. And the numbers are kind of astonishing, actually. I'm going to try to sort of explain this in a way that makes it, because numbers kind of suck. Accounting is not fun. But when you hear the numbers, you're going to die. I mean, there's just, it's crazy. So the federal budget, the American federal budget is $6 trillion with a T, 6 trillion. Okay. Of that, 3.8 trillion or so are mandatory programs. 1.7 trillion are discretionary. By mandatory, I mean things that have to get spent no matter what. Social Security, which are benefits for old people. It's mandatory. They can't just say, well, this year we're not going to spend the money. Medicare just gets paid out automatically, which is healthcare for seniors, health insurance for seniors. Okay. Medicaid, healthcare for poor people. Those three programs alone are much of the 3.8 trillion or so are those three programs. They can't get touched. I mean, you touch Medicare and you touch Medicare or social. I mean, Medicaid, who knows, right? It's for poor people, less of a lobby. I mean, Democrats care, but you touch Medicare and Social Security, and the American people are gonna literally, take you Marie Antoinette style at that point if you cut Medicare or Social Security. So they can't touch that. But that's 3.8 of the 6 trillion, almost 60% of the money, not 60%, almost 2/3 of the money in the budget is in programs that are mandatory that can't be cut. So you say, okay, well, let's cut the rest of it, which is what the Republicans always say. Okay, there's 1.7 trillion left in the budget. Thank you, user. Thank you, Russell. Mind you, Elon said he was going to cut 2 trillion. There's only 1.7 left that you can cut because the rest of it is Medicare, Social Security, things we wouldn't dare touch, right? Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Lisa. So you got 1.7 trillion left. Of that 1.7 trillion, guess how much is defense spending? Half of the money every year that we actually can maneuver, right, is defense spending. The rest of it, Social Security, Medicare, we can't touch because seniors will go crazy. And it's a political landmine touching that. So of the money they can touch, 1.7 trillion, half of it is defense spending. Are Republicans really going to cut defense spending? No. Donald Trump just said he was going to increase defense spending 50%. That was what Trump said, right? He wants to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP. We're at 3.3 or 3.5, whatever we're at right now. It would be another 50%. So 1.7 trillion is all we have to play with. Half of it's defense spending. We're not touching that. We're actually increasing it. So the other half, which is like 8 or 9 trillion, 8 or 900 billion, is the money they could cut. The problem is, Elon promised he was going to cut 2 trillion. There's only 8 or 900 billion he could cut. The problem is, now he says he's going to cut $1 trillion. If he cuts the 800 to 900 billion, that's literally like the entire federal budget. You've exempted the military. You've exempted Social Security and Medicare. That's literally everything else is what they'd be cutting. There'd be no more roads, no more Department of Education, no more climate, no more weather service, no more, what did we say? I'm trying to think of all the departments, right? Department of Healthcare, Department of Veterans Affairs, space program, health, nothing. We would have nothing. Federal research, NASA. I mean, literally nothing would exist. Highways, the FBI, the CIA, nothing would exist anymore. And this is the problem. Elon Musk got caught lying. He lied. Trump lied. They pretended they were going to cut all this money. And Trump, by the way, the deficit under Trump is going to explode because of the tax cuts, especially because Trump cannot cut the budget. He wants to spend more. He said he wants to spend more, and what the tax cuts are going to do. But I just thought it was funny that Elon admitted today and said that, well, it's not going to be 2 trillion anymore. Now we're going to try for 1 trillion. No, you're not. Because the 1 trillion would literally be every single federal program other than defense, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid would be you'd literally be wiping out the entire federal government. And people think that sounds cute. Really? No FAA? No air traffic control for the planes? So the planes stop. Okay. No highways. Okay. So no planes and no highways. Okay, that's good. Right? No education. That's great. No food safety. Good. Right? No environmental programs. No water safety. Good. Right? No vaccine research. Okay. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So that was the big story with Elon today. It was like, again, this is going to be a recurring theme for the next 4 years, by the way. He lied. He lied. What a surprise. Oh my. Hey, Sarah Martinez. So a little more here. What else we got? So this is the interesting story I wanted to tell you about. This is the interesting story. Thank you, Larissa. Thank you, Louisa, as well, and Cheryl for the goose. Very strange story out of Moscow. Okay, so Margaret Simonyan is a horrific Putin propagandist. She runs Russia Today, RT. She's on TV a lot. This sort of dark-haired woman. She's Armenian ethnically. And she's one of the biggest propagandists for Putin, one of his biggest spokespeople in essence, but does the propaganda side. So she doesn't officially work for a ministry. She works on the outside, but it's not the outside, of course. It's for the Russian propaganda industry. And her husband is near death, she announced today. Very weird story. She says he's in a coma. He was clinically dead, which I had to Google what clinical death was. And clinical death happens when a person's heart stops pumping blood through the body, and it is paired with a loss of breathing. So clinical death means your heart stops and your lungs stop. Depending how long that goes, you can only go a couple minutes before you've got brain damage with that. That's very serious. Thank you, Jay Shay. Thank you, Jocelyn. So her husband is now in a coma, possibly gone. She says, well, he had a history of heart issues and things like this. A Russian blogger tweets today and says that's not the story. Now, we don't know. I'm going to read you this from the Russian blogger, but Russia, so many of the stories from Russia, you've got to kind of read the tea leaves. You know what I mean? To sort of read between the lines to see what's going on. This blogger says that she started getting calls today. So that's why she went public, but she says it's his heart. A pro-Russian blogger claims her husband was poisoned at a restaurant last night. According to his post, the poisoning occurred yesterday at a Moscow restaurant where the man and Margarita, her husband, dined. The guy began to feel unwell while still at the restaurant. Severe diarrhea started, and he literally couldn't leave the bathroom until paramedics arrived. He says, I have photos. This is a pro-Russian blogger. So this is somebody who's sympathetic to her, okay? I have photos of the bathroom he was in. I'm unsure whether to publish them, but it was chaos. I'm not even going to tell you. Basically, it was so bad that there was stuff all over the walls, the ceiling, everything. He says, according to the blogger, standard treatments were ineffective and his condition continues to deteriorate. There's even more that was kind of gross. This blogger is claiming the Ukrainians did it, that the Ukrainians took him out. Did he die officially, Lynn? I did not see that. Lynn is saying he died. Did they officially announce that he died? The interesting question now becomes, did the Ukrainians take him out? Now, she did not say that. She was saying he has a heart condition, which was very interesting. This is the husband of the pretty much the top Russian propagandist, Margaret Simonyan. She claimed it was his heart. This pro-Russian blogger claimed it was the Ukrainians. Now, let me pull this up. I'm going to do a quick little Google here. Margaret Simon. How the hell do you spell her name? Come on. Simonyan, I think is what it is. I'm trying to get it spelled the right way. Margarita. I thought she was Margarita. Nope, I've got coma. I do not have death here. Where do you have that he's dead? Where did you see that? Lynn, I see nothing here that says he's dead. What source did you see that from? Regardless, it gets to be sort of an interesting question. Would it be okay for the Ukrainians to take out her husband? And I'm throwing this to you guys. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you, Laddie. I'm a little divided on it. Captain America, Winter Soldier. I don't know if I have, Sarah. I'm a little divided on it. Now, I'm not convinced the Ukrainians did it. And the fact that she's not accusing them is interesting because she's saying it's the heart stuff. But she, I think, is a legitimate target. Although you get into now, this is the question like when the Ukrainians blew up that general using the scooter. And like the Trump people were like, oh, that's not fair, right? And, is it fair to go after a propagandist? Is it fair to try to kill a propagandist? It's an interesting question, right? I don't know. I'm just sort of, just like I said, I'm curious what you guys think. Would it be okay for Ukraine to take out Russia's top propagandist? And again, she's not in the field. She's in Moscow working, but she's their top, TV propagandist. Minister of propaganda in many ways. Goebbels, if you wanted to put it that way, if you wanted to compare it to the Germans, right? It's very interesting. Now, again, we don't know the Ukrainians did it. The fact that she herself is not accusing the Ukrainians is interesting. She talked about her husband having a long problem, long time problems with his heart and stuff. That's interesting, right? Because you'd think if it was the Ukrainians, they would come out or if they even vaguely thought it was the Ukrainians, they would accuse him. Now, another possibility, this is Moscow. When you get poisoned, it's usually not the Ukrainians who are poisoning people in Moscow. It's usually Vladimir Putin who's doing it. And if Vladimir Putin, poisons your husband, adjusting my lighting here. If Vladimir Putin poisons your husband, you don't go public and say, Vladimir Putin poisoned my husband. You go public and say, oh, my husband's not feeling well. He's had a long history of heart problems. So that's a possible. So A, maybe her husband just has a history of heart problems and that's what happened. B, maybe somebody did poison the husband and she's not blaming Ukraine because it was closer to home and she's not allowed to blame closer to home because then they'll go after her next. This is Russia. If this were America, I'd say these are conspiracy theories. This is Russia, where things like this happen all the time. Putin will very often kill, throw out of windows, jail people who he finds to be critical of him. So who knows? Who knows? Now, was he the target? Was she the target? If anybody was a target, could it have been her? Of course, it could have been. Again, it is entirely possible that her husband just got sick and had heart problems. Entirely possible. But it's a very weird story. And again, with the history of poisonings by the Moscow government, with the history of Ukraine going after Russians who have wronged it, even at great distance, it's a very interesting story. Yep, somebody's calling me, but I'm going to guess, maybe. I don't know. I'll take it. I will take it later. It could be spam. I don't think it's spam, though. Oh, well, I'll take it later. Anyway, what else we got here? Oh, so this was an interesting story. Thank you, Betsy. Remember how the Republicans kept saying that Crooked Joe or Crooked Biden or whatever it was? Oh, the Biden crime family. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Super Hornet. Well, that story blew up today. We talked about this before, but the story finally, the guy went to jail. The entire attack the Republicans had against Biden was based on one guy who just went to prison for 6 years because he made up the entire thing, and he confessed that he made up the entire thing. It was a guy who didn't like Biden, originally from Russia and then Israel, and then it came to America. He made up the story that Biden's son, who was working for a Ukrainian company, Burisma, you might have heard of it. He made up the story that Biden's son was paid $10 million in order for Biden to lobby, VP Biden to lobby to help the Ukrainian government, or Ukrainian company, all this kind of crap. And that Biden was paid off, and Republicans launched an impeachment investigation. Well, did you notice how the Republicans, Biden's only here for another 11 days. Did you notice how Biden never got impeached by the Republicans? Why was that? Not because they're nice people. They never impeached him because this guy was their top witness. And the story blew up. Thank you, Blue Rail. He was arrested by the FBI for lying, for making up the story. He confessed. He reached a plea deal in court today. He confessed. He got 6 years in jail for lying about the entire story. The entire Biden crime family story was a lie. It was a lie. Again, I told you. We told you it was a lie. At some point, thank you, Blue Rail. At some point, you'd wish these lies would catch up with these folks. They don't. But it is pretty funny. But you do have to ask yourself, again, even the people who want to believe Trump and the Republicans on this, why did they impeach him? Right? If the story was true, why did they impeach Biden? Because they're nice? They didn't impeach him because their story blew up in their face. So, oh well. A little bit more news. So this was kind of sad. Biden was actually going to meet with Zelensky. Biden was going to go abroad, meet the Pope, meet the Italian Prime Minister, and then meet Zelensky. And he canceled it because of the fires in Los Angeles, which I think is a smart thing to do. Thank you, Feisty. Who's that? Feisty? Thank you, Feisty, for the bubble gum. Please keep the gifts coming, guys. Remember, I do this for a living. I do it full time. Your gifts pay the bills, so please keep them coming. But yeah, so Biden decided to stay home because of the horrific fires in Los Angeles. I think that was a very smart move. It's unfortunate because it would have been nice for him to see Zelensky, but I think it's very smart. So thank you, Jay Shea. Thank you, Colin, for the gifts. What else we got here? Okay, this was interesting. The Italian Prime Minister weighed in about Donald Trump today. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Colin. Colin again. Giorgia Meloni, Italian Prime Minister, conservative, but seemingly pretty sane. Like on Ukraine, she's very good. She's very good on Ukraine. Thank you, Big Hawk, for the rose. Ashley as well. She said some stuff about Trump today that I thought was very interesting. Thank you, Jazak. Appreciate the Elvis. Listen to this. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni believes Donald Trump won't disengage from Ukraine after he takes office. Addressing a news conference, Meloni said she does not believe that Trump would stop supporting Ukraine. And thank you. Another dead chicken on my head, or Adventures a dead goose. Appreciate that. Big Hawk as well. Chazak, Super Hornet. Addressing a news conference, Meloni said she does not believe that Trump would stop supporting Ukraine and try to force it to accept unfavorable terms to end the war with Russia. Quote, Trump has the ability to balance diplomacy and deterrence, and I predict that this will be the case this time too. She's lobbying him. I guarantee you, Trump likes her. First of all, has Trump actually met her? I'm trying to remember this now. She wouldn't have been in power when Trump was president. Did Trump meet her otherwise? Does anybody know? I think Trump would like her. She's pretty. I mean, she's a woman. She's very pretty. She's Italian. She clearly knows how to play it, right? Thank you, Mary Big Hawk. I was wondering about that in France, Alan. You're right. Whether they met when Trump went to France for the opening of Notre Dame. Thank you, Big Hawk. I think you're right. I think they did meet in France, in Paris. I think Trump would like her a lot. She's Italian. I love Italians. Thank you, Adventures. The Italians are great schmoozers. Thank you, Big Hawk, as well. They're great schmoozers. And Trump loves to be schmoozed by a woman. She's schmoozing him. She's trying to, get him to do the right thing. Not a bad thing, though. I mean, if she can do it, good luck. I'm not convinced. Thank you, Ashley. But I thought it was very interesting. Zelensky says 4,000 North Korean troops were killed or wounded fighting against Ukraine so far, which is very interesting. This is good, too. So Russian firefighters are still tackling a fire in the city of Angels this morning, 24 hours after the Ukrainians attacked an oil base. They're calling it an oil base. I'm not sure what an oil base is, but they're calling it an oil base. I've never heard the term before, but some kind of oil facility. The Ukrainians attacked it with drones 24 hours ago, and it has been burning ever since, and the Russians can't get it under control. So that was pretty funny. Finally, Denmark and Norway are going to buy 183 million in arms from Kyiv for arms for Kyiv from Ukrainian manufacturers in 2025. So that was nice too. Thank you, James, for the gift on YouTube. That is it for the news. Let's hang out and talk. So that's it for the prepared news. Talk to me. How are we doing this evening? I will slouch again, although my neck is feeling a little bit better today. Oops, hang on. My pinched nerve is feeling a little better. Nonetheless, it always feels a touch better when I sit back, so I shall. Should Canada be worried? Yes, because Trump is going to get into a trade war with you unless somebody stops him. Thank you, Theo. I forgot about that word. You're getting into Greek that I forgot I knew. Yeah, I think they should be worried. Do you think the issue with Canada would make all the Commonwealth countries involved? I don't know enough about that. I don't know enough about whether the Commonwealth is real or not, and whether they would help Canada if the U.S. starts growing. Now, what I worry about is, Trump isn't going to invade Canada, but he's going to put tariffs, and the Canadians are going to put tariffs back, and it's going to be a mess. I mean, guys, we're talking, everyone worries about war, and Trump may get us into war with Denmark and Panama. But the bigger concern, that's a concern. That's a big concern. The other big concern is economic meltdown. Thank you, Camacho. Trump could destroy the world economy with tariff by having a tariff war. Quite literally, we've talked about this before. That's how the Great Depression started, 1930s or 1929. He could start another depression by getting into a massive tariff war with the Europeans. He's talking about doing it with the Danes now as part of the pressure he's going to put on them to get Greenland. He's talking about doing it to the Canadians, about doing it to the Mexicans, about doing it to the Chinese. Thank you, dog name. Appreciate the hat. And Kumacho. Oil base that was supplying the aviation military planes. Yes, Mike. The oil base that the Ukrainians hit was basically refueling planes that were attacking Ukraine. I've just never heard the word oil base before. I guess maybe it's a military base that is its purpose is oil, so that it refuels vehicles and stuff. Maybe that's it, like a refueling base or something. Very dangerous what he's talking about doing. No, it's like I said, I'm not worried about Russia. Well, I worry about Russia, but I'm not worried about war with Russia. I'm worried about war with Trump, so to speak. No, he just increases. Again, Trump just raises the tariffs on Mexican goods. He just does it. The thing is, I don't think he's posturing. PC, okay. I think Trump is posturing, but I also think Trump will do it because Trump will be embarrassed, right? If Trump threatens the Canadians, if he threatens the Chinese, if he threatens the Mexicans, if he threatens the Danes with sanctions or with trade, tariffs, and they don't do what he wants, he's going to follow through. because he's going to be embarrassed. And he's not smart enough to understand the economics. He's not smart enough to understand that he's going to hurt the economy, even though people are going to tell him that. So that's what worries me, is he's going to get pissed off and follow through, I think. Oops, my eyes. I did not have a coffee. I was going to have another coffee, and then I didn't because I thought, okay, that's getting a little late. Although I slept very well last night, considering I had coffee when I saw you guys at 6 o'clock. So who knows? But I don't know. Can't people vote to get him off his high pedestal? Not for another 4 years. They voted him in. Yeah, that's the problem. And there's exactly, and as Julian just said, this time there's nobody to push back against him, right? Last time, Trump actually appointed some normal people, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense. He promised this time is a director of national intelligence. This time he's appointing crazy people. The Secretary of Defense is some Fox News guy who's a sycophant. Director of national intelligence, some Russia lover who's a sycophant. Secretary of State, okay, Marco Rubio. He's going to be okay. Trump will probably fire him because Rubio will be normal. Everybody else, crazy people. He's appointing all yes men. Exactly. Last time, and Trump got pissed that last time people stood up to him in his own administration. He's not going to let him do it this time. FBI, Department of Justice. Thank you, Adventures, for the Paddington. Appreciate that. Tariffs, I don't know kind of how tariffs are actually implemented. Thank you, Katie. I don't know the procedures of physically how you institute a tariff, but I'm pretty sure Trump could do it. He'll just find a provision in the trade agreements and do it. Or he'll pull us out of the agreement. He'll just say, we're out. Again, you're not dealing with somebody who cares about the law. He's just going to do it. And as we've seen, there's a lot of things on which we thought and the law, by the way, he appointed his own judges, like that judge in Florida. They're just going to let him do what he wants. I don't use any hope of him not doing it. No. I think this is Donald Trump we're talking about. Every single thing he says, you should assume. He's a liar, Think Adventures, but at the same time, he's a little crazy. I think you should assume everything he says, he'll do. Thank you, Jess. And you should also assume maybe he won't because he's a liar and he has no fixed political beliefs. So, but my point is everything is possible with him. It is totally possible he will declare war on NATO. It is totally possible that he will get into a tariff war with all of our allies and are not allies like China and Mexico and bring down the world economy. Very, very possibly. Yes. And a lot of us are going to sit there and go, oh, well, what do you do? Thank you, Jay Shea. Oh, that's right. He's being sentenced. Actually, tomorrow, Trump is being sentenced, but also Russia and China are not my real allies now. No, not even close. No. Tomorrow is the TikTok case. Oops, there's my girl getting off the couch. Tomorrow is the TikTok case before the Supreme Court. I forgot about that. January 10th. That should be interesting. And then we'll see at the very least if they're going to put a stay on the legislation or what. Thank you, Imperfectioner. Is that a double gift? That was a ×2. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. I guess I didn't even know people could do a ×2. Maybe I never quite appreciated that before. Thank you for that. Anyway. Oh, the dog may be wanting water soon. We'll see. We shall see. How long will it take the Supreme Court to make a ruling? Usually the Supreme Court takes several months. In this case, they've got to do something. Thank you, Hope. Thank you, Jay Shea. Thank you, Adventures, for the butterflies. The dog wants water. 1 second. Dog gets water, and then we'll talk about the Supreme Court. All right. So, all right. Typically, typically the Supreme Court takes several months to issue a decision. We're talking about the TikTok case, which they're arguing in front of the court tomorrow. It is possible, I was looking at this, it's possible the court could issue a decision before the deadline, which is January 19th, 10 days. TikTok gets shut or banned in the US, whatever. Thank you, Jess, for the gift. That's very unlikely, but it's possible. The other possibility is, and I can't imagine the court wouldn't do this. Thank you, KT, for the massage. I can't imagine the Supreme Court wouldn't do this. But if the Supreme Court knew they weren't going to reach their decision until after the deadline, right? The legislation goes into effect January 19th. That's the deadline for banning TikTok. Typically, the court would put the legislation on hold pending its decision, because they'd say, look, we haven't reached a decision yet. We don't want TikTok being banned and all of the, first of all, individuals like me and others suffering because we lose our business, right? TikTok itself, business suffering. Like there is such harm involved if the ban goes through that typically the court would put an injunction, basically a stay, on implementing the legislation pending the court decision. They haven't done that yet. So let's see. I would be very surprised if the court didn't do a stay. It would make sense to me. It would make absolute sense to me. But who knows? You know? Or they reach a decision. And the other possibility is they reach a decision immediately, and the decision is we're not going to do anything about it. TikTok gets banned. You know? But that's the other possibility. They just go ahead and they agree that the legislation is constitutional. You know? And then, by the way, follow me on YouTube. John Aravosis, DC. Make sure to follow me on YouTube. Thank you, Decky. Or Decci, if you're Italian. You know, because we may not be here in 10 days. So, very scary. Oh, dragon. I love this now that we know the mouth thing with the dragon. Thank you, Adventures. Would the Chinese sell? Well, part of the concern was if the Chinese sold TikTok, they may not sell the algorithm. So they would sell like this shell of the TikTok that isn't TikTok, you know? So who knows? There is no hope for the next 4 years, Isabel. No. There isn't. No, the only possibility is that Trump, you know, people got sick of Trump last time. I think they are going to get sick of him again. They're going to remember why they didn't vote to reelect him. The problem is they didn't remember now, so it's a little late. But they're going to get sick of him fast, I think. And not to mention, you had COVID, and that wasn't enough, right? Everything he did with COVID wasn't enough for people to vote against him. I mean, what more do you have to do? Anyway, well, we'll see. I mean, I'm going to have to get one of those streaming softwares that will allow me to stream to TikTok. If you're American, you won't be able to. Well, you'll be able to. Now, initially, we'll be able to use the app, but once the app will degrade. So, like over time, the app will need to be updated, and then we're screwed. So, at least initially, it's not like we'll be kicked out on Friday, you know, or the 19th. It'll work for everybody initially, but eventually, if you update the app, you're screwed. Then the app's going to stop working, which will happen to a lot of people, I suspect. But then again, for on your end as the viewers, use your computer, you know, because you can watch. I mean, you don't need an app on a computer, you know. That's true. Or get an EU phone. Or say, right. I'll still have my Europeans and my Asians and my Africans and my Latin Americans. You'll still be here. Or a VPN. Exactly, Annie. Yep. Now we'll see. And Canadian. Oh, that's true. The Canadians. I keep forgetting. You're not banning it either. Sorry, Amanda. You're right. I forgot about the Canadians. I always forget about you guys because you are next door, you know. Oh, man, what a mess, though. What a mess. People would have to use their computer for TikTok. Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, like, unless you're like, why? I mean, I do look at TikTok on my phone, but if I were sitting at home right now, I would either, well, here's the thing, I guess. It depends what you're doing. Like, I'm forgetting again. Don't most of you guys use your phone or an iPad for watching me? Because to some degree, like, I'd want to do it on a TV or a computer because it's bigger if I were watching a show. Having said that, it's not as comfortable sitting at a desk. It's more comfortable sitting back in a chair on my couch or in bed. In that case, I'd be using a phone or an iPad, and I'd be using the app. Yeah, see, everyone's saying phone on TikTok. What about YouTubers? Well, even for YouTubers, how are you accessing? Just curious. Karen has me on TV. Creepy, but fun. Yeah. See, a lot of people are saying phone, which is interesting. Doing things while you listen. Used to watch on YouTube. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Right. Yep. Desktop. There's a few desktops, but not too many though. Yeah, a lot of it is phones though, which is interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Some YouTube TVs though, a number of YouTube TV people. Okay. Interesting. All right. Oh. Well, I have a desktop. I don't use it much. My laptop I use more. Like I use the laptop even for this today for YouTube. But I do use my laptop computer. When I want to write documents or anything, I'm not going to write them on an iPad or a phone. Ugh. But it is true. My desktop, I have a very old iMac, and I don't know if I'll buy another. I don't know that I will buy a new one. I think I'll get a laptop at some point, like we said, but I don't think I'm going to get another iMac. I don't use it enough. Do I have a backup income-wise? Nope. No. I mean, I'm just going to keep doing this on YouTube. We'll have to keep doing. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be an absolute mess. It's going to be an absolute mess because most of my income comes from TikTok. Absolute freaking mess. Very bad. So it's very bad. Does YouTube have a subscription? I mean, you can become a subscriber from my show on YouTube, if that's what you mean. It's about to change in Canada. What are they doing in Canada? To my show? Yeah, you can become a paid subscriber on TikTok or YouTube. I use a MacBook, correct. Yeah, MacBook Pro. Is it 6 years old now? I forget my MacBook. I'm proud. I'm a Midwesterner. I'm proud of my old things that I keep using. This is a 2000. Is it 2018? Oh my God, how old is this thing? It's a 2018 MacBook Pro. Wow. God, is this thing 6 years old now? Probably. Woo. 6.5 years, maybe. Wow. That is pretty old. When did I get it? I don't think it tells me when I got it. I just know the model is 2018. I'd have to look. It may be that. Yeah, maybe I've had it for 6 years. Wow. I like it though. Again, I told you guys I'll buy a new one when I need to, but it works. So, some type of chemical gas targeted Ukrainians. I did not see that, Annette. It does not have pockets. No. Before the war, I mean, I have always done internet related things. A lot of consulting. I'm trying to even think. Actually, I was doing some consulting. I was doing some legal consulting, which was very lucrative. That was nice. I mean, that was real good money. I can't even remember now. I mean, I was still doing TikTok and getting some money from TikToks because I was on TikTok. I can't even remember now. I had my podcast that brought in some money. I was doing although I'm doing Substack again now. My Substack is live again. How do you keep your mental health with all this news? I don't know. 2005 laptop. Well, I've got my 1997 laptop that still runs, but I don't use it. But I boot it up occasionally for fun. It's this big brick. Can you do legal consulting? Of course you can, because I'm not working as a lawyer. I was working as a PR public relations consultant. But I also know the law, so I was able to chime in on it. Was a lot of fun, actually. It was a lot of fun. Like I wasn't regretting not going into the law, but I was really enjoying reading briefs and going, wait a minute, that legal argument, and kind of tightening things up and everything else. It was quite fun. But again, law firms hire lots of people who aren't lawyers. I mean, think about it, right? They're, what do you call? They're legal assistants, whatever they're called, aren't lawyers, right? The public relations people they hire aren't lawyers. The marketing people. Look at what's his face on TV who got sued for sexual harassment. The fictional show. The guy Bull, right? All those people they hire, they're not lawyers. Paralegals, exactly. Yeah, I can always go back to the UN if I want to kill myself. Yeah, yeah, that's not going to happen. Kevin Spacey, no, not Kevin Spacey. The TV show's Bull. What's his face? Michael. What's his face? Who kind of sexually harassed Faith. Michael Weatherly, exactly. Sexually harassed Faith from Buffy. Eliza Dushko, which was not good. But yeah, I know. I'm gonna buy a. Next time I need one, I'm gonna buy another laptop. Although this one's been hanging out. Again, my keyboard was being weird. The keyboard like cleared itself out. It's working again, which I don't quite understand. It wasn't working and now it is. So I'm like, okay. You know, so. Anyway, yeah, the next 4 years may drain you. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I think because like I do this for a living, but it still is stressful because, you know, you're spending your entire life worrying about life-changing, world-changing issues. It's gotta add up after a while, I would think, for any of us who work in politics. You know, you spilled coffee on your MacBook. That's very bad. Yes, that would be very bad. It is terrifying, and Denmark should be worried because he's at the very least going to get into a trade war with you all. He's going to want to get into a trade war with you all. Put it that way, at the very least. But then again, if the French and the Germans do their job and tell him privately, you know, we got news for you. We're going to be defending them militarily. You know, Trump will say, I don't care. But that's where I said the generals come in, because I think Trump's generals are not going to like it. You know, but we'll see. You know, the weird thing on YouTube is I always set it so that it's conservative and doesn't show many commercials, but it seems to randomly pick people and go nuts on you. And I don't know why, Jennifer. Makes no sense. Yeah, I put it on conservative as well, so it shows fewer of them. Will they deny him from invading Denmark? Maybe. The French already threatened. They might. Depends what the Brits say, too. They may. I mean, if he does, first of all, it's the end of NATO, but also NATO allies have to keep in mind, if Denmark gets attacked, they've got to come and defend Denmark. That's the whole point of NATO. You know? No, I think it would be a disaster. I think also, if they do it, there's going to be massive economic sanctions on the U.S. if they do it. And then, again, you're going to see a massive trade war. You are going to see the U.S. economy grind to a halt. Interest rates are going to go through the roof. Mortgage rates are going to soar. Unemployment's going to soar. Inflation's going to soar. He will destroy the U.S. economy if he plays games like this with Denmark, but also the games he's talking about with Panama, with Canada, with Mexico, with China. He quite literally will destroy the U.S. economy. And that is going to be incredibly dangerous. I mean, it's, you know, again, this is real stuff we're talking. Being president of the United States comes with great power. You know, yeah, you're risking a depression. Exactly. So hopefully not. How do you stay so calm? I don't know. Just, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Denmark is part of the EU and NATO. Yeah. Yeah. Denmark and Greenland are both part of NATO. And Denmark's part of the European Union. I'm 99% sure, right? part of Schengen. Of course they are. They're part of Schengen. I had to go through Denmark to go to when I left Schengen. I left Denmark. I did it via Denmark. So yeah. I remember the Danish. I do remember when I was leaving via Denmark, the Danish passport control people were kind of mean because I'd been in Europe for the summer and I went to Greece and I was leaving to go to Sweden and I had added up my, you're allowed to go for 90 days or whatever the hell. I don't even remember how many days, 60 days maybe. Was it 60 days? And I was at day 59. I had 1 day to go before my 90 days, but then I was at day 89. Whatever it was, I had 1 day to go before I met my limit of having to leave. I think it was 60 at the time, actually, but who knows? When it was like 10 years ago or more. But whatever it was, I had 1 day to go. And the Danish guy goes, and I was like leaving to go to Sweden. So I was leaving Schengen. So I was leaving the European Union for the immigration purposes. And he said, you arrived in July, blah, blah. I said, yeah. And you're leaving today? Yeah. He goes, you're only allowed to be here 60 days or whatever it was. And I said, yeah, today is day 59. And he kind of looked at me and he looked at the passport. I said, I've added it up a few times. Am I wrong? And he finally was like, no, you're right. I was like, okay, what's the problem? And you're getting mad at me. Like, first of all, I'm leaving. I'm not coming in, but also I'm leaving legally. It was not, whatever. Well, it wasn't 2017. This would have been back 2010, actually. But maybe it was 90 then. I don't know. But whatever it was, I was 1 day shy of the thing, and the Danish border guy was just very weird with me. It was very, or it's their job to make you uncomfortable because if I was a terrorist or something and he was saying this, I'd get confused, right? I'd be like, I thought I had enough time. Do I not have enough time, right? But being like American guy who didn't care, I wasn't scared. I was just like, no, I've got 1 day left. Do the math. Right. So, but I think that's what I think. I think it was normal border control, seeing like, why were you here that long? I'm going to play a little bit of a game just to test you. That's my game. I was nice to him, but I just was like, no, I've got 1 day left. Add it up. I said, I was careful. So, yeah. The Brits were very mean to me too once when I came from France to Britain when I was in college. They were really mean at the border. But again, that's their job. But boy, they were mean. But again, Border Patrol should put you on guard. You are mean. Exactly. Well, no, but that's also their job. Their job is to make you uncomfortable so that if you're doing anything wrong, you will crack. And if you're not doing anything wrong, like I was as a college student, you're like, no. Oh, God, Italy, too. Oh, my God, the border going into Italy. That was a whole other issue. The Italians once waking me up on the night train from France to Italy when I was 19 because they thought I had a fake passport. And they're waking me up at 4 a.m. at the border. And the Italian Border Control is interrogating me in Italian at 4 a.m., telling me my passport's a fake. And I was like, No, this was not 19. This was when I was 19. Yeah. God, that was scary. That was very scary. They finally believed me, but I was like, I do speak Italian, yes. And back then, my Italian was good enough to be able to defend myself to the Border Patrol at 4 a.m., telling me your passport's fake. Oh my God, this had to be 1983, probably. I'm guessing 1983. It could have been later. It could have been a couple years later, like 87, but I'm not sure. I think it was 83. But yeah, it was wild. Oh yeah, they were pissed. They might have been looking for a bribe. Of course, I'm American, so I wasn't going to give them a bribe. But also, I was staying in a room with 6 guys from Naples, couchette or whatever, the sleeping room on a train, and like 6 beds. And the other 5 guys were from Naples, which was great because the Neapolitans are crazy in a good way. And it's 4 a.m. And the border guys are like, Aravosis. And I'm like, see, and I'm waking up like, see? Because you give the passport to the conductor people and they just do passport control for you. And I'm like, see? And he's looking at the passport, this passport's fake. I'm like, the passport's fake. I'm like, what? I said, that's me. Like, look at that photo. That photo is me. And he goes, oh no, we know the photo's you. We don't think the passport is yours. In other words, you took a photo and put it into somebody else's passport. I'm like, huh? And now it's 4 a.m, and my other 5 bunkmates, the Neapolitans, are livid because it's 4 a.m. and they got woken up, and they're literally going, "Stai zitto!" Like they're like, "Shut up!" As only Italians can, yelling at the border guard to shut up and go away. And I'm now in a panic. Like, I'm like, what do you mean the passport's fake? Because my passport had a crack in it. Oh my God. And in this passport, I don't know if I have it here. I don't think I still have the passport here. This passport, my hair was curly, dark hair. And everybody who saw my passport at the time would tell me, they go, you look Syrian. I'm like, what do you mean I look Syrian? Everybody said, they didn't even say Middle Eastern. They said Syrian. This is like the early 1980s with Assad the father. And they thought I was some Arab and had basically faked my passport. And I was like, oh my God. And finally, I don't know why or what, they ended up believing me. But I was like, oh my God, that was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And like I said, Zito, shut up. The 5 Neapolitans in the beds around me just saying, shut up in Italian. Oh my God. Very scary. Train from Kyiv to Moscow. They took your passport and wouldn't give it back. Oh God. Yeah, crazy stuff. Man. New visas for all European countries in force. There's something I saw. What was it? Was it like Americans have to file some paperwork now or something? Something like that? I did see something I was reading about that. Yes, I heard something. I don't remember the details. Thank you, Annie, for Paddington. New paperwork. Okay. And was it every time we want to travel, we have to do the paperwork or what? The UK is making you pay. Making who? Making us pay to visit? Americans? No. The Brits are making us pay to get a. How obnoxious! Well, that's obnoxious. We have to have a visa. Get out of here. We don't have a visa to go to the UK. Are you kidding me? Callum, what are you people doing to us? Let me look this up. Get out of here. Do Americans need a visa for UK? No, American citizens do not need a visa to visit the UK for short stays, but they will need an electronic travel authorization starting January 8th, 2025. What the hell does that mean? A digital system for visitors who don't need a visa or have UK immigration status. What does that mean? You can apply. You'll need a valid passport. Well, okay, it's not a visa, but it's kind of a visa, right? Is what it sounds like. It sure sounds like a visa that's not a visa. Let me see here. Oops, where is this? For 6 months or less, will require an electronic travel authorization prior to travel. U.S. citizens can apply for ETAs beginning on November 27, 2024. Okay. Interesting. Make sure you go home. Okay. Interesting. Reject cookies. So visa, permission to work, British or Irish citizen, traveling with a British overseas territory. You live in Ireland, dual citizens. Huh. Come to the UK for up to 6 months for tourism. Oh, that's nice. I didn't realize it was 6 months, though. That's pretty nice. Interesting. Interesting. 10 pounds. Oh, it's not too bad, though. But how about for the EU? We don't need anything like that, do we? Is it just the Brits? Or the EU requiring something like that now? Since I haven't been to Europe in 10 years. Yeah, but the U.S. requires, that's different. We're the U.S. We get to require. We get to require. We're America. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Huh. All right. Well, it sounds pretty easy, though. I mean, it was pretty, actually, Indonesia and Singapore had the system online. It was very, even Indonesia's was pretty efficient online, that you sort of fill your paperwork out before you go. If you know to do it, you know. Singapore's, of course, was the most advanced because Singapore's like visiting another planet in terms of just the advancements there. So Australia's done it for more than a decade. Huh, okay. Anyway, what else, guys? We've been going an hour and 20. So, oh, that's right. Tonight we've got the neighbors are hanging out in the hall. We're having drinks in the hall with the neighbors. So I was going to make chocolate chip cookies. Maybe I'll wait. I don't know. I guess I've still got time. Is it a good idea to ignore the news for the next 4 years if you have bad anxiety? Probably, Isabel. That's probably not a terrible idea to some degree, because the news probably will make you more anxious if you have anxiety. Yeah, we thought it was a fun. The neighbor came up with the idea. She was like, let's just invite everybody to come up on our floor for drinks, because we often sit there with our dogs and bring drinks in the hall. We're like, yeah, it's a good idea. It is almost like a dorm party, though. Yeah, it was a good idea. And it's cold. I mean, it's, it's, what is it, 28 degrees out, but it's windy and cold. And it's like, ugh. So you wanted to visit the USA? Where are you, Viola? Where are you located? So it'll be fun. Germany. Okay. But it'll be fun. I'll bring Sasha out so she'll get to see everybody, so she'll be happy. She gets to socialize, so that will be good. And I tried making some cake today that for a friend is having, she's Belarusian American and is having like Orthodox Christmas on Saturday because she got sick last weekend. And I tried to make this cake that is it's Polish, but it is apparently popular in the region. Belarusians have it as well. Piernik. If anybody knows it, anybody's Polish, you'll know it, I guess. Piernik. And it's a gingerbread cake, but it kind of collapsed in the middle, and I have no idea why, and I'm a little pissed off. So I put it in the fridge till tomorrow. Hopefully it's cooked all the way. But I'm going to put a cream cheese frosting filling and then a chocolate ganache covering it, which should be very good. So hopefully it's going to be good. I'm a little nervous about this, so we shall see. Good night, Frank Thomas. But I was not happy. The chocolate bread did not turn out well. I don't think I'm going to try chocolate bread again. Chocolate bread does not bread does not want to be chocolatey. I now think that it is a mistake. So I am not going to make chocolate bread again. So war between Poland and Belarus? I doubt it. The Poles would win. So I would not be too worried about that. Yeah, it just, like I said, it collapsed in the middle, which, I did not overbeat the batter, but it could be. But there's lots of things it could be. Again, trying to find recipes online, are not. Piemnik? Oh, interesting. Oh, traditional Belarusian gingerbread. Okay. Yeah. This they were calling piernik instead of piemnik or piamnik. Oh, you're calling it piamnik there. Piamnik. Let me Google piamnik and see. Piamnik. Nope. I'm not pulling it up spelled that way. I believe you, of course, but it's not pulling it up spelled that way. But in any case, yes. That is, my oven works very well. That's the thing. I mean, I bake all the time. My oven works well. I didn't open the oven. I could tell it had 10 minutes to go, and I looked, and it was starting to collapse in the middle, and I was like, uh-oh, and I hadn't even opened the oven. So something happened, but I let it cook long enough. Oh, yeah, because napamiats, memory. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, pamiats. I just remember like napamiats or whatever is souvenir, I think, in Russian, as I recall, maybe Ukrainian too. I wasn't thinking of that. Yeah, memory. That's funny. Huh. But we'll see. Like I said, I'm gonna slice it in half anyway to check on the to frost it. And when I do that, I'll be able to see if the center part is cooked. And if the center part isn't cooked, I'm gonna cut it out, and the cake is gonna have a hole in the middle. And I'm gonna pretend like that's the cake. I'll get a circle and cut a circle. It'll be pretty. So I'll make it work. It takes baking soda and powder. Something I bake all the time. Something happened. I do not trust the recipe. I thought it was a little bit runny, but it's a cake, so who knows? It just something happened, and I didn't overbeat it because that can do it too, right? With with too much air, it doesn't make sense. I think it's the recipe. So. Candles in the middle. That's actually, well, that's true too. You're right. I could cut the hole out for the hole out the middle and put a candle in there. That's true. That's true. We'll see how it is. I mean, I figure, look, no matter how the cake is, I'm making a sweet cream cheese filling and then chocolate ganache that goes on top. I mean, no cake is going to be bad once you do that to it. You know what I mean? I figured no matter what, it should be very good. So we will see. It's in the fridge overnight because those kind of things need to sit a day anyway. Any kind of a gingery, those kind of breads and cakes, they intensify overnight. But sweet cream cheese should fit exactly. Sweet cream cheese. I may even do 2 layers of the cream cheese so that literally you don't have a choice but to touch cream cheese and the chocolate, and it should be good. I'm a little nervous though, because I don't like making, because this is for somebody else's party. You know what I mean? I almost thought of making another cake, and I was like, oh, I'm not making another cake. Because also, who knows? I'm going to find another recipe that doesn't work, So, but no, I think it's just a matter of that middle part being cooked. You got to be careful. So, and that I didn't overcook the outside part because I cooked it longer so the middle would cook. Who knows? I'm hoping I didn't overcook it. We shall see. We shall see. Anyway, all right, guys, I think I'm going to call it quits. We've been doing an hour and a half. This would still give me time to make my chocolate chip cookies, which I'm considering making for myself. We shall see. Or I'll make another cake tomorrow. We'll see. When I cut it open, we'll have a look. Anyway, all right, guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you, moderators and everybody else. I'm back tomorrow, Friday night, 6 o'clock Eastern. I did, of course, from scratch, of course. What do I do? Buy a Belarusian Christmas cake at the store? It's got to be from scratch. But I'll be back tomorrow. And then remember, Saturday, we've got our show for the paid subscribers, TikTok and YouTube. All right. So thank you, guys. Have a very good night. And see you all tomorrow. All right. Oh, the cookies. Yeah, of course, the cookies from scratch. Yeah. I was hoping at the cake. Yeah, the cookies. But scratch cookies are pretty easy, All right. See you guys. Have a good night. And you all